such a superpower with being able to harness your mindset and belief that really so much is within our reach what we can accomplish. And so unequivocally, without a doubt, if it was not for my time in the Army, I would most likely have not applied to Harvard. It's surprising to my family that I ended up joining the military. It's even surprising to myself. I'm of the 9/11 generation. It happened when I was in high school. It was a very impactful event for me. I was glued to the news. The idea that we now have young Americans my age getting ready to graduate high school that are going to war was very significant and intriguing to me. I decided I want to be as close to the front lines and what we are actually doing to combat terrorism.
People who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
It was disheartening and frustrating, frankly, that by virtue of being a woman, and that alone, I was not allowed to go into the parts of the military that would be closest to actually combating terrorism, the combat arms units. The Cultural Support Team was a program started by the Army Special Operations Program, and it was birthed out of many years of our time in Afghanistan, where you have special operation forces like Special Forces, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs who are working in Afghanistan going after high-value targets from Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So they go on these raids and they're there to find these high-value targets and also gather critical intelligence. But one thing that they were missing was being able to engage with the women and children on target. Because of the Afghan culture, the American forces were not allowed to talk to the women and children. The women know what's going on in their village, they know what's going on in their homes, and so we were leaving potentially tons of vital intelligence that they know just untapped. So if it's only women who could talk to these Afghan women, then they need to recruit only women to do this job. And at the time, there weren't women in any of these special operation units. The military banned women from even trying out to be in these units. So 3 years into my time, when the Cultural Support Team program was announced, it seemed almost like this is the time, this is the chance. This is unprecedented that the military is looking for women to fulfill these jobs in these combat roles, and doing so within special operations units. Myself and my female colleagues in the cultural support teams, we just did it. We did it, from the application process to the challenging selection process. We were run into the ground, given no sleep, given all these different physical challenges, mental challenges, the training, and then our deployment from literally surviving Afghanistan, winning over our male colleagues, proving our place in this organization, making a mark for women in the military ahead, and just creating such solid bonds with our group of women. You really questioned, did I peak at 25 years old? Is the most consequential thing that I'm going to accomplish already done? And kind of grappling with, what do I do now? Was challenging. The reasons why I decided to leave were very, very challenging to come to. And I did not take it lightly, but I personally felt like it's a hard, fast, demanding life. And there were certain personal tolls that were being taken. But then when it came time to transition out, it was because of the cultural support team program that I thought, you know, there's no reason to put limits. I'll apply to Harvard Business School and Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I ended up getting into both. Being out for 2.5, almost 3 years now, it took probably 1.5 years for me to start to feel better. There is a sudden loss of community identity purpose, and you go from an organization where like literally your squad leader or your whoever's in charge of you, their job is to have their personal accountability of you every day. And then you go to the civilian world where no one needs to call you. No one needs to check up on you. The military kind of hands you your purpose. Here's your mission. Here's your teammates. Work together, accomplish said mission. That just feeds so much into our humans' like tribal brain of working together and accomplishing something. I've had to work to be more conscious and deliberate about what is my next purpose and mission. Who is part of my new tribe? And that can be challenging. It's been lonely and kind of strange at times. But in the last year, through getting help with the VA and starting to build some friendships in school, you start to see the opportunities and possibilities that the civilian world can give you. So even though it's kind of complicated stepping from the military world to the Ivy League world, there's just a lot of power in it. Impact in the armed forces only goes so far. A lot of the places I deployed to, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Europe, like, there needs to be more than military intervention to solve these problems. That was so clear in these places I went to. I wanted to go to school to be able to bring further impact to these places that I really do care deeply about and have great people that are worthy of a stable, secure life. And to me, that looked like transitioning from the security apparatus to other apparatuses of development, like in economic development and economic opportunities in these places. And I had to get out of the military to be able to do that. It's a starting point into exploring this space of going back to these post-conflict zones and what else does stability look like besides just military intervention. The cultural support team program, seeing that through and being successful in it was a life lesson that you really shouldn't put limits on yourself. Like, you really shouldn't. And also a lesson that challenge is good. And when you put yourself in an environment as someone who isn't necessarily in that environment, there's a lot that you can teach others, and there's a lot that you can also learn.